Welcome everybody back to Sam and Hunter. My name is Sam. Today is an episode that I wish we never had to film, but it's an episode that needs to be filmed. We need to address what's going on, what has rocked the world in recent days, in the last week. We are filming this as of, say, the 14th, the 15th?
17th.
It's the 17th? Good night. Today's the September 17th, officially 1 week. Wow, it's 1 week. It is 1 week since Charlie Kirk was assassinated in Utah, at Utah Valley State University, while he was doing a Prove Me Wrong, the first of many Prove Me Wrongs he was going to do for the American Comeback Tour with Turning Point USA. And Hunter, I mean, we just couldn't. We had to talk about something. I mean, I didn't really want to be honest. But you know, my dad was talking to me and basically just encouraging me that, you know, people know we were involved with Turning Point. They want to know what we have to say about it. And I, you know, hopefully this can be comforting to a lot of people, but you know, you can take this however you want. This will just be a quick conversation, talking about where we're at, you and I, how we're grieving, highlight some of the stories that we think are profound that have come out of this tragedy. So how you doing, Hunter? How you holding up since last Wednesday?
Yeah, I think I'm holding up. I am. I think the first 2 days were probably the two worst days of my entire life. I've never lost anybody that close to me, I feel like, and especially to see it on video was like unbelievable. I just opened Twitter and that was the first thing that I saw. Yeah. And that video has been playing over and over in my head for the last week, and there's so much to say that I don't even know what to say about it. In terms of the grieving part of it, I will say that being able to see the amount of people that are getting involved and using their voice, and seeing the amount of people that have spoke out against it has helped the grieving a lot, even though there is a lot of vile things that people are saying. Yeah. But again, it is like losing a friend. I mean, we've both met Charlie. We've seen him speak dozens of times. We've gone to his conferences, and we've worked basically for him. Mm-hmm. So it is weird. Like, it is like losing a boss or a coworker and somebody that you were really close with. And he's a brother in Christ. So spiritually, we're feeling that pain, not only emotionally, physically, but spiritually, because he's a brother in Christ. So that's what I've got on the grieving front. It's hard to talk about quite the emotions that I'm feeling. I mean, first, anger, sadness, grief, bitterness, hatred. All of those words are something that I felt in the past week. Yeah. But now I feel like I'm on the up and up, and I'm on the encouraged, I'm on the fiery, I'm on the let's go do something, the courageous, the passionate. Like, I've that passion for politics and the passion for people that can kind of get monotonous from day to day is like nothing I've ever felt before in my entire life, because the term that keeps just coming to everybody's mind is, you know, carrying the baton, picking up the microphone like it's a baton and keep running. Yeah. And we have to do that. Yeah. However weird it might feel, however sorrowful we might feel, and we have to take that time to grieve when we need to. Like, I took work off today because I'm just like,
it's a lot.
It's a lot. Yeah.
The past week, I mean, wasn't really much time to grieve, you know. I mean, I took the day off work. I ended up taking really the week off. I mean, I got a little bit of stuff done, but like it was just, I just couldn't think about anything else, and I still really can't think about anything else. But it's less heavy than it was a few days ago, and I can't imagine what Erica and her babies, you know, and the people around her Charlie's family, his parents, his sister, must be going through, like, man, and they'll be grieving for months. And
I do think that turning point of grief when Erica came up and spoke to the nation, I think that
was powerful.
Was where like all that negative emotion and feeling that I was feeling turned into that positive emotion that now is going to fuel me for the rest of my political life and life in general. Like I don't know how I can go forward anymore and not be passionate and not be loud and not be 10 times what I was before.
Well, here's the thing. Erica has officially eliminated any excuse that someone could have for being tired or giving up in this battle.
Right.
Her husband was publicly martyred in a very gruesome, graphic way. And 2-3 days later, she got up and addressed the nation. I mean, that takes some courage that I don't think many people have.
No.
But Erica has it, and she's leading. And I remember Andrew Colvett on the Charlie Kirk show. They're continuing it with guest hosts of friends of Charlie's. And Andrew Colvett, Charlie Kirk's executive producer, he said that when Erica addressed the nation, it lit a fire under the team. It kind of gave them the green light and the motivation they needed to keep going. I mean, they didn't take any time off. I'm sure the team did, but like Charlie's close associates, they didn't really take any time off. And man, it's powerful. I mean, and I know for me personally, like Charlie was like a mentor to me, a mentor I met once. He probably wouldn't remember me, but like like you were saying, we've been to so many of these events and I've watched him for years. And at first, like I first heard him in 2020. That's when I got connected with Turning Point. We started the chapter end of 2021. You came along 2023, end of 2023. And he's been like a mentor to me. The way I've been explaining it, I've been speaking at different, we've been asked to speak since when people see Charlie, get murdered, they think, who's my closest touch point to Charlie? And a lot of times it's us because, even though we didn't know him, we're associated with Turning Point. And so people have been asking us to speak. And one thing I've been saying to try to communicate, especially to Christians, I spoke at a church on Sunday. I said, my dad taught me how to love Jesus. And then Charlie taught me how to take that love for Jesus and go love the world with it. So it's just a good way to encapsulate it, so it's strange to not, be listening to his podcast while I'm at work. That's I do masonry part-time, and normally on Tuesdays, that's when his podcast gets uploaded from the week before, from Monday. And, it's like, it wasn't there. And instead it was JD Vance I was listening to. And it just was like, man, this is surreal. This is crazy.
Right. And that it started with us is like Charlie, if you could sum up his impact on our life, is that he gave us a voice to express the things that we were afraid to express before.
Yeah.
Because we watched him do it every day and build a following from it. And it's not about that, but he spoke to every single person that was associated with Turning Point before he died. They would say that same exact thing, that even though they were afraid, because Charlie was doing it and giving them a voice, they had a voice now because of him. And so I think that's what everybody in the world now is feeling who might not have known him or known how deep his story went before, is feeling that same thing now. That everybody that Charlie Kirk impacts and touches, he gives them a voice to do the things that they weren't doing before. And I think that's in my life, that's where I've seen him impact me the most is, I grew up, and when I was 8 years old, I told my mom that I wanted to be a politician when I was 8. And because of the world and because of growing up a conservative and believing in the Constitution, I was told that if I ever spoke out against that in public, that I wouldn't really have a place in the world, that I kind of had to tweak my essays in school a little bit to lie and make them look more liberal, or the words that I use with my teachers, or maybe don't wear a MAGA hat on election day to school, or maybe don't start a club centered around free speech at my high school, or maybe don't do all these basic things that the other side gets to do all the time. But because I'm a conservative, I have to keep it quiet. And what Charlie built was an alternate institution.
Yeah.
Really. You have higher education, who is directly opposed to conservative values. You have the media, you have Hollywood, you have all these institutions that the left not necessarily created, but co-opted to shun opposing voices. And yet Charlie created this institution for conservatives, yet also was able to bless everybody through it, because he gives a voice to the furthest groups of the right and even the furthest groups of the left by having an open mic when he shows up on college campuses.
Absolutely.
So I think that's why his reach that we felt in our lives and his impact that we felt in our lives, it is really cool to see it being lived out in these millions of people that never even might have known him before.
Absolutely.
Because you go and watch what he's saying, and he's saying what 50% of America.
More than 50%
Right.
of America. And that's the crazy thing, is he was saying such simple things. He was articulating simple biblical truths. I mean, and that's, I think, another reason why it hits so close to home, is because that bullet, that could have been for any of us. Could have been for you, for me, any Christian, because there were so many people who think as normally, maybe disagree with him on like one thing, but like as normally and as commonsensically, I don't know, as Charlie does. Like there are so many people who agree with him, and he got shot for it. And now there was, I'll be honest, when it first happened, there was a lot of fear and confusion that I was feeling. Confusion about the future. How do we go on? How does the movement not fall apart? How do we get Vance elected in 2028? There were a lot of crazy questions circulating in my brain. He was becoming a leader of the church in America. He had, in the recent years, he had made the gospel of Jesus Christ his number one focus above all else. And he would say that. And he would preach the gospel to campuses, and he was preaching the gospel the second to last question of his life that he received at that Prove Me Wrong. But it's like it's like the bullet he got, it could have been for any of us, because he was saying all the things we're saying. And that's how I know this is a demonic attack. I mean, he moved Mark Driscoll, his reaction, it was very emotional. I encourage anybody to watch it. He had like a 25-minute video as the news was coming in, basically right afterwards. And he was saying how because of Charlie's effectiveness, he moved to the top of the demonic hit list. Because not only was he an evangelist for the gospel of Jesus Christ, he was also an apologist of the gospel. He could defend it. He knew the arguments. He was great friends with Frank Turek, who I know impacted you a lot in your early walk with Jesus and learning to defend the faith and defend the gospel. But he was also a brilliant political strategist. So he had the three. He had that trinity, basically, of evangelist, apologist, political strategist. He could have been president, a professor, or a pastor. And that is a rare combination to have someone like that at such a high level. And I mean, Charlie always said he wouldn't run for office, but I mean, everybody's saying now that everybody knows he would have been president. Who knows? I don't know. I don't know what would have happened. We can't really speculate about that. But all we know is that now he's gone, and we have to figure out how to keep the coalition together. And, it was cool. Michael Knowles, Ben Shapiro, and Matt Walsh all went to Phoenix and were sitting in studio with Andrew Colvett, the producer for Charlie Kirk Show, yesterday. And Ben Shapiro was just saying how he was on the phone with Tucker Carlson on Friday, and how they're obviously very publicly at each other's throats on foreign policy in Israel and things like that. But they were on the phone with each other on Friday because they believed in the common mission of keeping the coalition together. And that's what's so hopeful, is that, I mean, even in Charlie's death, Hunter, like, he still was keeping the coalition together. So why do you think that, switching topics a little bit, why do you think that his death is affecting so many people across the world of all ages? because we're seeing marches for Charlie. We're seeing spontaneous grassroots vigils across the world for Charlie. I mean, we had a vigil for Charlie hosted by Stephen Exaros, our state representative here in Massachusetts, at your church, and it went great. 300 people showed up. Why do you think there's such an outpouring of support for Charlie Kirk?
I think,
or maybe why is it hurt? Why is it deeply grieving people like it is?
well, I think because largely the rise of Charlie was kind of coinciding with the revival that we're seeing around the world among young people that are rejecting what the institutions that I spoke about before were telling them, are just a straight up rejection of that and a turning to something else. And I think Charlie embodied that in himself and in everything. And I don't want to call him a reactionary because he wasn't. He was principled. But I think that's why, and also like I said before, is that voice that people saw, it was like they killed it.
Yeah.
But I think, when they killed it, they created a million more and millions and millions and millions.
It went from one baton to millions.
Right.
Basically.
And that's why I think people are like, it wasn't just him keeping it together. It was the Lord keeping it together. And it was the Lord giving him the culture that could hear what he was saying at the same time. Because if you look at when Charlie started in 2012, the things that was probably the same year that they passed gay marriage in the United States, that the Supreme Court divinely ruled.
Right?
Yeah. That the Supreme Court divinely ruled by divine Supreme Court law that marriage is between man and man is accurate, which they don't do. But anyway, let's not go down that rabbit hole. But in that time, and Obama was president, if Charlie Kirk was 31 then and saying the same things that he was saying now, he wouldn't have made it 10, 12 years. Mm-hmm. He would have probably been killed before that. So I think you see this as just he's a providential and prophetic figure is what he was. And I think you're going to see the world changed in so many different ways by his life and death in the same way. Like Charlie really is a picture of Jesus. You saw this throughout the Bible where you had Joseph in the Old Testament. You had all kinds of figures that were pointing towards Jesus because their life was a picture of suffering, and then they died, and then out of that came a movement, and obviously Jesus is the ultimate picture of that movement because he's perfect. Mm-hmm. But I think Charlie really is a picture of that, in that he lived for so many people, for so many Christians, for so many beliefs that are common sense and just true, and that in his death we will actually see a greater outpouring of all the things that Charlie was for.
Well, it's like any martyr. I mean, the blood of the martyr is the seed of the church, and I mean that's why you see mass revivals in countries with enormous persecution. It's because it spreads like wildfire. They see the courage of one man, and it emboldens the spines of many others. Yeah,
it's very interesting too, because I was looking at my old tweets. I went back the other day, and I saw one of my tweets
You're deleting them, I bet.
I did delete it. From like a year and a half ago. It was basically saying American Christians aren't persecuted, basically. Like somebody calling you a mean name on Twitter is not you being persecuted, which at the time I did feel like was true. But now I think after this, and you see the depths of that persecution that went further than just words on social media, that we are leaning towards that place. But also, because of the First Amendment and the inheritance of our country, that voice is able to spread so much louder, because you don't hear the voice of the martyrs in these other countries, unfortunately, like you do in America. That's just the sad reality of it. And now, though, I think Charlie's death has shown people and opened people's eyes to what your faith should cost you. I was listening, James O'Keefe, his thing was basically saying, he asks people when he interviews them, like, what's your price? Like, if I gave you $100 million, would you stop everything you're doing right now? 200 million, 300 million. If your price to stop what you're doing isn't your life, then your mission isn't great enough to justify anything that you're doing. If you're not willing to give up your life for it. And I think we're seeing that and that hunger of people to be like, you know what am I doing? When I go and I fly on an essay in my school, in my class, what is that saying about what I believe? Or if I am afraid to post honoring Charlie's death on social media because I'm afraid that I might be fired, what is that job worth?
Yeah. Well, in reality, people who are defaming Charlie and dancing on his grave are getting fired.
Right.
Which is good.
Right.
There need to be cultural consequences for that. But
right. And I think we're seeing that, and like so much of what Charlie did was like pointing people back to what really matters, like family, faith, and the church, and loving your country. Like you see so many people that they say, "Oh, if we were to go to war right now, I wouldn't fight for America." And it's like, yeah, I can see that when you're going and fighting for somebody like Nikki Haley who wants to put you in Ukraine. Like, okay, understandable. But there is an instance where America could be attacked, and are we the kind of people and the kind of men who would go on boats and storm the beaches of Normandy knowing that half of you that go are going to die? Do we have people like that in our country anymore? And unfortunately, we don't. But I think after this, people are realizing that we deeply and desperately need that. And Charlie was just one, and really the first, pretty much in our generation and in the 21st century for sure, that was doing that.
Yeah, this is Gen Z's 9/11 moment. Because maybe the oldest Gen Zers, maybe they can remember it, maybe not. But no, I don't think really any. This is Gen Z's 9/11 moment. What are we going to do with it?
Yeah, and hopefully it's not to go bomb a bunch of random countries because we think they have terrorists in them.
True, that might be a bad idea.
But I do that. Okay.
But here we go.
Let me use that as a segue to because I think this is what nobody else is saying. Okay. No. We as Christians and as people on the right, even though saying things left, right tends to be whatever. It
can be hazardous.
Yeah. But I think what I've said is I think it was your cousin. She asked me like, how do you deal with these people who are mocking his death and who are just saying things that are obviously so completely irrational and illogical?
Yeah.
What do you do with those kind of people? And what I say is just let them be that way, honestly. And that the people that we have in our circle and the people that we have that are normal and mourning this death and want to actually live a life that is normal and not chronically online and not obsessed with every little political thing that happens ever and criticizing and just not having any solutions to problems but is constantly angry at the world. Like, we need to look at ourselves and say, what is the next step? What are we going to do in the face of evil? Are we going to repay evil for evil? Because that's not what Jesus told us to do. And it's so easy to do that. And like even I saw what Pam Bondi said the other day. I'm sure you saw it.
I didn't.
Where basically she was saying that we're going to go after hate speech, talking about the Attorney General's office of the United States, basically.
Oh, I heard about that.
And, I'm sure she's
it's a bad way to put it.
Right.
But I know what she means.
Right. But that's the kind of things where we can't get caught up in that. And we can't let Charlie's legacy die in one that is a vengeance. Because that's not what his agenda was about. It was about allowing conservative voices to be as equal in the public square as liberal voices are, because I think he believed that if conservative voices and Christian voices were as prominent in the public square, that because Christianity is true, that it would just simply win. And I think that's what we're seeing right now, is that Christianity and truth is simply winning, not by force and not by, it's not coming, Trump isn't decreeing Christianity down upon the nation, but because of the insufficiency of a not only just liberal, I don't want to use the word liberal, but godless and angry worldview, because really no other worldview can really have hope, because you don't have an object to direct that hope towards. You know, and you choose to trade that hope for anger towards what you do see that is hurting you.
Yeah.
Which is what every like Marxist ideology is based on.
Absolutely.
Don't look to the left or right, but look up. And definitely don't look within at your own heart and the things that you're doing.
Yeah.
Look up, because it's the rich and powerful that are harming you.
Yeah.
And Christianity tells us, well, no, the most rich and powerful and, you know, the most rich and powerful person to ever exist in the true sense of those two words was Jesus, because he has everything. He isn't somebody to look at and say, I should direct my anger towards him because he's oppressing me. He's somebody to look to and say, no, he is the very source at which I don't have to be angry at the world anymore, because he came down and died for me. Yeah. So I don't know how I got there, but I did.
Well,
and fine. I think, but that's where Christians need to have that mindset, because the threat is going to be that we make everything in the entire world political, when even Charlie's own death was not political. It was spiritual.
It was kind of political, but
ultimately it was
spiritual.
Right.
Yeah. Ultimately it was spiritual.
Yeah.
And the thing with Pambandi, that's a whole nother episode we can go in, because there's been a lot of talk about, you know, speech and what should be protected speech, and, you know, but she wasn't saying that we need to outlaw speech we disagree with. It was basically saying in order to have a marketplace of ideas, you can't have people.
Right, but when you're speaking,
you can't have people shooting up the marketplace. Right. That was the idea. That was Michael Knowles' articulation on Charlie's show yesterday. Yeah. But that's a whole nother podcast episode. But I want to wrap up here by kind of setting a vision. Let's get specific. Let's get to Massachusetts, New England. This is our audience. This is where people are plugged in. They're ready to go. They want to do something. How do we set a vision going forward for Massachusetts and New England in the wake of Charlie's untimely death?
I think, first of all, if you're impacted by Charlie's death, you should go to church.
Yeah.
And we saw that the amount of people that were in my church, every Christian that I've spoke to, I've seen or I've heard that they've said, my church had 30 to 50% more people than it did the weekend before. Yeah. And not only that, so it starts in the church, because let's go bottom up, truly. And when they go into that church, are they going to get a pastor that doesn't talk about the issue at all? Is that what they're going to get? And is that what's going to bring them to the Lord? Is them looking at Charlie and seeing a man who is so unashamed of the Lord and what he read in the Bible? Are they going to go into a church and see a man who is afraid to address the issue because he's afraid that a few people in his church, who probably aren't even real Christians anyway, are upset that he addresses some quote-unquote racist bigot who wasn't even really a Christian? Like, are they upset by that minority and losing the butts in seats, that they're not going to talk about the most obvious of issue facing Christians that week? Is that what they're going to face? Or are they going to face a pastor who recognizes the moment as a shepherd should, where his sheep, some of them who are very young sheep, who are now in the fold, are they just going to, not give the sheep what they need? Or are they going to tell the sheep that it's time to follow even more and point them towards Jesus, not just Jesus as the Lamb of God, but Jesus as the lion who flipped over the tables in the temple and who called out the Pharisees for their hypocrisy because he was harming other people.
I think the greatest opportunity for revival is conservatives who don't have Christ. It's Christless conservatives, and we need Christ-filled conservatives. They're not equal. Obviously Christ is above it all, but it's people who agree with us, but they haven't found the reason. They know it's true, but they haven't found. But ultimately, without Christ, you can deconstruct every conservative view because it's all just your opinion. You can't base it on anything. But we need to, and that's why it's one of the shepherds need to recognize the moment. Right. And start speaking boldly. It's like, hey, all these conservative things you're thinking, yeah, man, they're right because of this and this and this. But why? If you don't have Christ, it's all for naught. It means nothing.
And not only that, last point on this, why would anybody want to change their mind if you are afraid to share what you believe and kind of like bounce around the fact that you actually believe it?
Yeah.
Who would be attracted to that?
Yeah.
The thing that drew me to the church was, no, these people genuinely believed and lived it out in their lives, and it was something that was so different. Why would anybody change their mind if it wasn't different than what they were currently doing?
And it was funny. I realized as I watched Charlie that he became what so many pastors should have been. What I mean by that is he was addressing the cultural issues with biblical clarity. Pastors were not doing that largely. Evangelical pastors in America were not doing that on the large part. So he filled that gap for Christians. But now that he's gone, you're going to have influencers of all different types who are not going to be godly. A lot of them trying to take Charlie's place. And they're going to deceive a lot of the church. So the pastors need to step up, fill in where Charlie left off. Doesn't mean you have to do a newscast, every Sunday. But step up where Charlie was and start speaking biblical truth into culture.
Right. And not only that, but to bring it back to every single person, because not everybody's a pastor, you have no excuse in your life anymore to be afraid about what you believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Erica Kirk has not given you an excuse.
Right.
She has eliminated every excuse with that speech.
Right.
So we're setting a vision for those. First of all, I want to say to everybody watching, it is okay to feel deeply saddened by this.
Or angry.
Or angry. We just don't let that anger turn to sin. We don't want to hate people, even though we might feel hatred. So just remember that it's okay. Because I felt bad. It was like, there are so many people who knew Charlie. Why am I grieving? But it's okay. I want to validate your grief. People had to do that for me. I just want to say it's okay that you feel bad. So take time, grieve. That's okay. That's good. But what's the next step? For those who are not Christians, to fulfill Charlie's legacy, if you are not a believer, accept Jesus right now. That you just have to. I mean, like, I'm serious.
Yes.
Like, it's imperative. Forget about saving the country. Do you want to go to hell?
Right.
Or do you want to go to heaven? It's as simple as that. The most important question you'll ever answer, this is Charlie talked about this all the time, is who is Jesus Christ? And that's the question you have to answer. So, and then, okay, so that's your non-Christians. You got step one, non-Christians. We love you, but we're bringing you into the fold. And there's no more excuses. I mean, there's just no more excuses. Next thing, Christians, it's time to step up. I'm trying to set a vision for Massachusetts here. Non-Christians, become Christians. If you're already a Christian, deepen your faith. Read the Word of God. And this is for me too. I don't read my Bible enough. But this should just be the fact that this isn't like, because pastors are afraid to be called legalistic. No, people should just be reading their Bible every day. And I don't. I need to start doing that. And so that's the charge for believers. We have to think locally, get in contact with your representatives, build relationships with your school committee members, your select board members, your city councilmen and women, and just begin to build relationships, take them out for lunch, just learn about them. If you're compelled, run for office, build relationships. Yeah.
And if you're in high school, middle school, high school, college, start a Turning Point USA or high school version, Club America chapter. Figure it out.
Do it.
Don't give up. Don't make it hard because you don't see the link immediately on Google. I know it's a little bit difficult, but don't give up. Find it. Find out who your rep is. Comment if you have trouble finding.
Yeah.
do it.
We want to get a Club America in every high school in Massachusetts.
Amen.
So
And if your principal gives you trouble, we will sue them.
it's true.
So
Yeah, just
let it be known.
All right, we're over time, but Hunter, thank you for this. We both needed this. I think people watching needed this, and we're just we wanted to encourage everybody that things are dark, but they're looking up, and God will use everything for good. So thank you everybody for watching, and yeah, we'll see you next time.